Imagine stepping into a palace where marble columns shimmer with gold, silk drapes conceal whispered sins, and the scent of exotic perfumes mingles with sweat, wine, and forbidden desire. This was Cleopatra's court, not just a throne of politics and power, but a den of seduction, betrayal, and shocking secrets the ancient world dared not record openly. Behind the shimmering facade of Egypt's last great queen, there were rituals so outrageous, lovers so scandalous, and passions so dangerous that they reshaped the fate of empires. Some say Cleopatra ruled with her beauty, others with her mind. But what if the truth was far darker? What if the secret of her power was hidden in a web of sexual games, forbidden unions, and ruthless seductions? Tonight, we open the doors to a world where kings, generals, and even gods themselves bent to Cleopatra's will. But be warned, once you step inside, you'll never see the Queen of the Nile the same way again. This is Royal Conspiracies. If you love uncovering the darkest, most hidden secrets of history's rulers, make sure to subscribe, like, and share, because what you're about to hear is too shocking to be forgotten. Now, let's begin the story. Cleopatra's palace in Alexandria was no ordinary royal residence. Ancient writers described it as a place of unimaginable luxury. Walls inlaid with precious stones, floors polished smooth as mirrors, and perfumed fountains that filled the air with intoxicating scents. But what they didn't write in public scrolls were the rumors that echoed in the city's taverns. That the palace at night transformed into something far more dangerous by day. Cleopatra was the queen, draped in gold, issuing commands, conducting treaties. By night, she became something else. A seductress, a temptress, a priestess of forbidden rituals that blurred the line between politics and passion. Cleopatra understood a truth most rulers ignored. Power was not only won with swords, but with skin, sweat, and desire. The young queen had been raised in a dynasty already notorious for incest and scandal. The Ptolemies, descendants of Alexander the Great's general, had for centuries kept their bloodline pure by marrying brothers to sisters, nieces to uncles. Cleopatra's own father had been caught in rumors of sleeping with his daughters. To outsiders, it was shocking. To Cleopatra, it was simply the world she was born into. So when she inherited the throne at just 18, she knew how to use not only her crown, but her body as a weapon. And soon, her palace became the stage for games that would shock Rome itself. The first great scandal began when Cleopatra smuggled herself into the palace of Julius Caesar, rolled up in a carpet, as legend says. But what happened after the carpet unrolled was far more scandalous than the storybook version. Imagine the scene. Caesar, nearly 50, hardened by decades of war, suddenly confronted by an 18-year-old queen, naked beneath silken sheets, her eyes burning with both fear and hunger for power. That night was not just a political meeting. It was the start of a relationship built on seduction. Cleopatra knew that by binding Caesar to her bed, she was binding the Roman Empire itself. Whispers in Alexandria said she would bathe in milk and honey before their meetings, coating her skin with perfumes that drove men to madness. Caesar, once considered immune to such pleasures, was soon enslaved by her charm. Some Roman senators even sneered that Cleopatra had bewitched him, not with spells, but with her lips. They mocked Caesar, calling him the queen's eunuch. But Cleopatra's court buzzed with excitement. She had not only won Rome's greatest general, she had turned her bedroom into a battlefield where no army could defeat her. It wasn't just Caesar. Cleopatra's court soon became infamous for its feasts of excess, wild banquets where politics dissolved into drunken passion. Ancient scrolls describe tables groaning under roasted peacocks, exotic wines, figs dipped in honey, and servants half-naked, offering themselves as much as the food. Cleopatra believed that to truly control her allies, she must entangle them in pleasures they could never resist. These feasts often ended with orgies. Nobles, generals, and even priests tangled together on silk couches, while music played and torches burned late into the night. Some historians dismissed these tales as Roman propaganda, but even Roman writers admitted they feared the seductive power of the Egyptian queen. To them, Cleopatra's court wasn't just scandalous. It was dangerous, because every kiss, every touch, every scandal was another chain around Rome's throat. As her power with Caesar grew, so did the legends of her palace. Cleopatra was not content with ordinary feasts or simple pleasures. She sought to transform passion into ritual, seduction into religion. In the hidden chambers of her palace, Cleopatra revived the Dionysian mysteries, ceremonies dedicated to the god of wine, ecstasy, and unrestrained desire. These were no mere celebrations. They were orgiastic rites, secret gatherings where the boundaries of morality dissolved. Picture this. Servants dimmed the lamps until the hall glowed red with torchlight. Musicians beat drums in hypnotic rhythm. Wine flowed like rivers. Women draped in panther skins danced until their bodies glistened with sweat. And at the center, on a gilded couch, Cleopatra herself reclined. Not as queen, but as living goddess. Some whispered she claimed to embody Isis and Aphrodite combined. Those admitted to these rites swore that she could make even the proudest men fall to their knees in worship. Caesar attended at least one of these ceremonies, scandalizing his Roman companions. To Rome, these rituals were depraved, signs of barbarian excess. But to Cleopatra, they were weapons. Every man who joined her in passion was bound by loyalty far stronger than any treaty. One Alexandrian poet dared to write that Cleopatra's beauty was not merely in her face, but in the way she commanded desire, turning lust into loyalty, pleasure into politics. But behind the silk and song, darker rumors spread. That some rituals involved sacrifice, not of animals but of slaves offered to the goddess of passion. That Cleopatra demanded offerings of blood to seal the loyalty of her lovers. History leaves us with whispers, not certainty. Yet the fear was real. In Rome, senators warned that Cleopatra was creating an empire of seduction, an empire that threatened to devour Rome itself. And when Caesar fell beneath the daggers of his assassins, Cleopatra's world trembled. But the Queen of Egypt was not finished. Her seductions were far from over when Julius Caesar was murdered. Many thought Cleopatra's power had ended. But in truth, her most scandalous chapter had only just begun. Enter Mark Antony, Rome's most flamboyant general, a man of excess, strength, and hunger for pleasure. Cleopatra saw in him not just a lover, but a new empire to conquer. Their first meeting was staged with such theatrical power that even Antony, used to glory in war, was left stunned. On a golden barge with purple sails, Cleopatra sailed down the Nile dressed as Aphrodite herself. Silver oars dipped into the water to the rhythm of flutes. Servants fanned her with peacock feathers, while others scattered rose petals on the deck. The air was thick with perfumes said to intoxicate the senses. Antony, rough and battle-worn, found himself kneeling before her like a supplicant. From that moment he was lost. The nights that followed were filled with pleasures that shocked even Alexandria. Antony, known for his drinking, was matched and outdone by Cleopatra. Together they created the Inimitable Livers Club, an elite circle devoted to drinking. Cleopatra once wagered that she could spend a fortune on a single meal. Antony scoffed, until she dissolved one of her priceless pearls in vinegar and drank it before his eyes. To her, wealth, beauty, and desire were all part of the same power. But it wasn't just feasting. Their relationship was a storm of passion and control. Antony was said to dress as a slave during their games, obeying Cleopatra's commands. Some claimed he even licked wine from her feet, worshipping her like a goddess. Romans sneered, whispering that Antony had been unmanned by Cleopatra, reduced to her plaything. Yet Antony did not care. He had tasted pleasures that no Roman law could forbid, and he would burn the world before giving her up. Their union was not just scandalous, it was apocalyptic. Together, they threatened the stability of Rome itself. And in the dark corners of Cleopatra's court, more shocking games were whispered, games of incest, betrayal, and forbidden love that made Antony's devotion seem almost innocent. To understand Cleopatra's shocking court, you must first understand her bloodline. A dynasty so twisted with incest, jealousy, and betrayal that even Rome recoiled at their scandals. The Ptolemies, descendants of one of Alexander the Great's generals, had ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. But unlike other royal houses, they had one guiding principle: Keep the blood pure. This meant brother married sister, fathers married daughters, uncles took nieces as wives. It was not accident or scandal, it was policy. To the Egyptians, this echoed the divine unions of their gods. To outsiders, it was monstrous. Cleopatra herself was the product of this tradition. Her father, Ptolemy XII Auletes, had taken his own cousin as consort, and his father before him had married his sister. Each generation folded in upon itself, until the royal family tree became a tangled knot of incest and suspicion. But incest alone was not the darkest part. It was what followed. Brothers who married sisters often murdered them. Sisters who shared a throne poisoned their husbands. Sons slaughtered fathers to seize power. The royal palace of Alexandria was less a home than a cage of vipers. Cleopatra knew this from childhood. She watched as her older sisters Tryphonina and Berenice plotted to seize the throne. One was executed, the other poisoned. She knew the truth. In her family, sex, marriage, and murder were not separate. They were part of the same brutal dance for survival. And when Cleopatra took power, she followed that tradition. To secure her rule, she married her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was barely a boy. On the surface, it was Egyptian custom. In truth, it was a throne shared between two enemies. The court whispered, did Cleopatra truly share his bed? Or did she use the marriage only as a shield until she could eliminate him? Some claimed the boy king was humiliated, paraded as husband yet denied her touch. Others whispered that Cleopatra lured him with sweetness, only to turn on him later. Their marriage ended not in passion, but in war. Cleopatra allied with Caesar, while Ptolemy drowned in the Nile, betrayed and discarded. But Cleopatra did not stop. To maintain her legitimacy, she married her other younger brother, Ptolemy XIV. Again, whispers filled the palace. Was he her husband in name only? Or did Cleopatra, like her ancestors, take her sibling as both consort and pawn? Whatever the truth, Ptolemy XIV soon died, poisoned, many believe on Cleopatra's orders. By then, she had no more use for brothers. She had found a greater partner in Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony. But the pattern was set. Incest, betrayal, and murder were woven into Cleopatra's throne. Even her daughter, Cleopatra Selene, would later be married off to her cousin to continue the bloody tradition. This was the house Cleopatra ruled, a dynasty where every kiss might be a dagger, every wedding a death sentence. And in the midst of it all, Cleopatra used the same weapons her family had always wielded: her body, her beauty, and her ruthless will. But if incest secured her throne, it was seduction that nearly brought Rome to its knees. And in her passion with Antony, Cleopatra pushed the boundaries of scandal further than ever before. Cleopatra was not only a queen and lover, she was a mother. But in her court, children were never just children. They were weapons, trophies, and living scandals. The first was Caesarion, born in 47 BC. His name said everything. Ptolemy XV Caesar, son of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra. At least that is what Cleopatra claimed. To the Romans, this was a scandal of the highest order. Julius Caesar already had a wife, Calpurnia, in Rome. Yet Cleopatra publicly declared her child as the son of Caesar himself, a living heir who could rival Octavian, Caesar's adopted son. Rumors spread like wildfire. Did Caesar truly father the boy, or was Cleopatra using him as a pawn? Some Roman senators whispered that the child was not Caesar's at all, but the offspring of one of Cleopatra's lovers. Others claimed Cleopatra had deliberately seduced Caesar at his weakest, drunk, aged, perhaps even drugged, to ensure her womb carried Rome's future. Whatever the truth, Cleopatra raised Caesarion as both child and symbol. He was dressed in silks, paraded as Pharaoh, even declared, Son of God. Cleopatra was not content to be Rome's mistress. She would make her son Rome's ruler. But Caesarion was only the beginning. With Mark Antony, Cleopatra bore 3 more children: Alexander Helios, Cleopatra Selene, and Ptolemy Philadelphus. Each birth was another scandal. For Antony was still married, not once but twice. during his affair with Cleopatra. Romans sneered that Antony had abandoned his lawful wife Octavia, sister of Octavian, for a life of lust and excess in Alexandria. The children of Cleopatra became living insults to Rome, proof that Antony had fallen under the queen's spell. Cleopatra understood their symbolic power. She staged ceremonies where Antony proclaimed their children kings of kings, placing golden crowns on their tiny heads. Caesarion was declared ruler of Egypt and Cyprus. Alexander Helios, at just 6 years old, was given Armenia. Cleopatra Selene was named Queen of Cyrenaica. It was scandalous theater, children elevated as rulers of lands they could not even pronounce. To Octavian and Rome, it was blasphemy. But the most shocking rumors were not political, they were personal. Whispers in Alexandria suggested that Cleopatra did not merely use her children as symbols, but that her courtly feasts blurred the lines of family and desire. Some accused her of grooming Caesarion as both son and potential consort, echoing the incestuous traditions of her dynasty. Others whispered that Antony, drunk and wild, indulged in games where Cleopatra's children were paraded before him as future lovers of gods. History gives us no proof, but in a court where siblings married siblings, where power was bought with the body, such rumors were believed all too easily. And in the end, those children, born in silk and scandal, became victims of the war their parents unleashed. After Antony and Cleopatra's defeat, Caesarion was captured and executed on Octavian's orders. His last words were said to be, "I am no longer Pharaoh, but a prisoner." The younger children were spared, paraded in chains in Rome's triumph, then given into the care of Octavia, Antony's discarded wife. Cleopatra Selene alone survived into adulthood, married to her cousin in a union that carried forward the incestuous curse of her family. Thus, the children of Cleopatra were both her greatest gamble and her greatest loss, symbols of a love that shook empires, and a scandal that Rome would never forgive. This was royal conspiracies. If you enjoyed uncovering the dark, forbidden, and shocking secrets of Cleopatra's court, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, because there are countless more stories hidden in history's shadows, waiting to be revealed. And remember, history is never as pure as the textbooks say. Behind every crown lies scandal, behind every empire lies desire.